All right, so we are here with artist ZheKa for his artist lecture for his exhibit, The Secret Landscapes of the Mind. So thank you very much for being with me today. We're going to just ask you a couple questions. We're going to go down the line here, and I will start with just having you tell me a little bit about yourself and what it was like for you growing up. Were you always interested in art?
Yes, always passionate about arts. And for me, the arts started from the written word. So I was always interested in reading stories, writing stories. So from that point of view, and I guess quite a bit of that transferred into my artwork because really I was raised on classics, on great stories of the world. So always was interested and passionate about that. And that's why I started doing my own stories. And the challenges of that always, a part of that was to entertain myself. So that's where you see the fact that I am pretty hard to entertain. So I don't like one-dimensional things like beautiful flower paintings. Just not for me. The flowers on the paintings that I see have to be maybe carnivorous or something. For me to be interested in them, they have to have a story. They have to have a motive. They have to have a great setting. They have to have a great conflict and resolution. So then I would look at it. So a lot of levels and dimensions for me, and that's really what drives me in this passion.
Wonderful. Okay, so next question is, was your family and are they supportive of your dream, to become an artist? You have your exhibit here. I mean, most would say that you're showing your art here. So have they always been supportive of that?
Sure. I mean, they've always been supportive of the effort, any efforts that I had. As I say again, art was part of my life, but in my professional life, I was always something else. So it's just in this recent times here that I am a full-time artist. But I mean, it always drove me. I was always passionate about it, but it was never a full-time job for me, except for those last 5 years. So, but yes, definitely was always supported and always, even though, obviously some of my art is out there. It's kind of crazy, it's multi-dimensional, different layers. So, I mean, sometimes my parents, obviously, they were shocked or confused, but they always would try to ask me questions and things like that, and my family as well.
All right. So then we're going to move on to our next question here. Do you have a favorite piece from the exhibit? And if so, which one and why?
Well, they're like your children, every great story is your favorite, just because it has just a little bit of a different angle to it. So, different personality, different frame of mind. And all stories are beautiful, but sometimes, you living like today, one story can be closer to your heart than other ones. So I think it just depends on that, how you grow, how your days proceed, what you're feeling today. So one particular story might really jump out at you today versus tomorrow when you would be in a different mindset. So I would say it's kind of like that, But I'm always looking at, like, for instance, today I can give you this example here, which is above me, the story above me. It's an abstract piece that is called The Space Between Hands, right? So anything, right, and everything in this area, right, the between hands, it can be your mind, it can be literally what you do with your hands, but the possibilities are limitless. It's the space between your hands, and that's the story that drives me day to day. This realization that I can be anything and everything today. So just go with that.
Alrighty. And then kind of going back to the second question, I heard you say that this wasn't a full-time job, except for the past 5 years. So was
Mm-hmm.
that kind of a scary transition, kind of moving fully into the art world, making that your full-time job? I know, if you had a job before that, leaving that, was there any kind of hesitation going forward, or were you nervous that maybe it wouldn't work out? And I feel like that's where a lot of artists might be. They have a second job, and art is kind of part-time. So was there
Right.
any hesitation, or was there any nerves kind of moving into that full-time art position?
Well, of course, there's hesitation and nerves. I mean, I had stable career job for about 14 years before that, or so. I forget exactly. So definitely, of course, but what helped me is that I worked basically two jobs. I was always an artist doing art. And so in a sense that helped me because I already had connections and everything. But of course the fear is always there, and anxiety. But at the same time, if you're an artist, you're a little bit crazy, in a sense that you're courageous, and courage is everything in this because everybody doubts you, of course. Everybody's going to say that it's nonsense, not to do it. So even people close to you would say that to you. But in your own mind, you know what's right. And in your own mind, you know where to go with it. So that real courage is, that's what it's all about. It's about knowing who you are, where you want to be, what you want to do, and then facing the world, with that. I mean, if nothing else, there's courage in that. But also, you know, this part of knowing who you are is going to help you too, because the world with its expectations is just nonsense. That's all it is. It is just somebody made something up because they had no creative ideas in their mind, and they're telling the world this, and somehow it's stuck. So, hey, it's time to change that. And it's all in you. I mean, in the new people, the new energy. That's what changes the world. It moves the world. This passion and energy, and the window of opportunity. And that's even more important. The window is kind of closing. So because the energy does wane and go away, so you gotta feed it, and you gotta be passionate about it. Use this opportunity to be an artist while you're young and passionate and strong, and then it's just going to feed that passion that you had, and you're always going to continue to have it.
All right. So then moving on to our next question. Did you go to school for art? Is this something that practiced, since you were a child? You have a degree in art, anything like that?
I never went to school for art. No, I went to school to be a teacher, linguist, and then had my degrees in psych and therapy. So was more into that. Again, was always interested in people, though. People always are interesting to me, and exploring people, thinking about people, of course, being inspired by people and their individual journeys and struggles and their beauty that they possess. So that always drove me. Always wanted to draw. I was horrible at drawing at first. It was really horrible. Kind of started with your regular just stick figures and all that, and was really frustrating at first. But I was young, and I was just kept going at it, and just kept beating it and beating it. So first I was very technical, and then I got to the level where I was into realism and loved realism and was drawing people's portraits and all that. So that was my goal for then, and then I just realized that maybe it wasn't all that good to be a realist painter, so I kind of went into a totally different direction. And one thing though is, again, it's all about the journey and the fun of the journey, because you as a person, as an individual, and especially as an artist, you grow in that dark. When you wander around in the darkness and trying to figure it out, trying to understand, why am I here? What am I doing? You really grow, because that's the process that artists need to be who they are, to find who they are, and they do need to wander around and be frustrated, but never quit.
All right, so kind of getting to our last questions here. Have you faced any challenges on your journey through the art world? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Oh, of course, there's challenges. I mean, there's every day there's a challenge. I mean, you face that, and overcome those challenges every day. It's like, for instance, with each artwork, you know, it's somewhat of a challenge because it starts from scratch and then it grows and it becomes difficult and then you quit, you drop it or something, then you go back to it. So it's always those tribulations and always those kind of a situation with it where you grow as a result of it, but the overcoming it, I mean, it's not really that hard because again, if you know who you are, if you know what you want to do, I mean, that's just part of the deal. You go through those situations, those issues, because you're an artist, and that's just part of the package.
And I guess that kind of leads us into our last question. Then what would you say to aspiring artists? I guess maybe then some of them facing those same challenges that you mentioned. And especially now that you mentioned this is kind of the time to take the opportunity to change the way the world looks at art and being an artist. So what would you say to those who are maybe in the same position as you?
Yeah. Just I mean, first of all, of course, look within yourself, for what you want to say, your own stories, your own colors, your own beauty, and keep projecting it out there. I mean, it's not really about the world as much. It's not about the environment as much. It's about you. Again, remember that, you have that space between the hands, you have your own beautiful mind, your own inspirations, your own ideas. And that's what it's all about. You have to keep putting them out there. And sometimes it's not necessarily for others. Sometimes they might be just for you, because you want to put them out there. You want to see them grow into beautiful artwork. So I mean, if you're able to, entertain yourself, like let's put it that way, if you're able to get joy out of what you're doing, then it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what other people say or whether people buy your art or not. But if you're able to have that joy creating your art, in the process, then other people will see that positive energy and they will appreciate it. So just keep at it, no matter how hard, keep making art.
All right. Well, that is the end of our questions for today. So thank you very, very much for joining me. And you can see ZheKa's exhibit, The Secret Landscapes of the Mind, from January 14th until February 24th, 2023. And again, thank you so much for being with me, and I hope you see the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.